It is Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, which means it is time for the Audible with my guy, Donnie RightSide, ready to break down each and every one of these games. Donnie RightSide, Tuesday early looks. How you doing today?
Doing good, man. Look, I was impressed last night with those San Francisco 49ers. Another week of football. Got some interesting things coming across the wire. It's always, every day is Christmas Day every time I get to come on the channels and talk NFL football with you, Jimmy.
I love it as well. Donnie and I love working with all these great cappers in the chat. We got Alex Ramirez, great hustle first in the chat. Deer Slayer Ski, Ryan D, like in the Dolphin skin, under 41. Top set in the house has got a feeling Dolphins will tank. This Dolphin spot smells fishy, says our guy Elio Rodriguez, who lives in Miami. Robert Weimer, and that was another great week last week. Let's get this cash again this week. Bogey34 says Vikings laying point to the Eagles and laughing out loud. Brandon Lugo in the house. Gregorio Ruiz ready to get to work. Good looking group. There's Joe Yurkovich in the house. Remarkable Gaming. Silfrena 0 says big fan. First comment, good stuff. From Selfrena 0. And Fam, my guy And Fam says, you better be impressed. Those 49ers look very, very good. There's Barry Block, Bob Lee Swagger, TJ Parks, Buffalo on the beat. Nick O, what a great group. Let's get to work. Buffalo on the beat says, my boy Kittle came through 70 through the air, 18 on the ground to go over 75 yards. Let's keep it rolling. There's Jarrett Jones, Arthur Kusin. We are ready to get to work, Donnie. And as you will see, I am still in my Warren Moon jersey, but by the barest of margins, the tiniest of margins. I went 3-2, up less than a unit, but enough to stay in my Warren Moon attire. I was 3-1 going into that game last night with the over. What a mess not taking the Niners and taking the over instead. 3-2, and my record needs to be fixed fast. Whale Capper fixed his record very fast. I have not done that. Whale Capper and I were both on the over last night. That stopped Whale Capper's big winning streak. Let's check out the records for honesty and transparency. I don't like them, Rafa. Donnie, we have some work to do, but it's early. It is early yet, but we have work to do, and I think we have the work right here. Tom Marino says, I cleaned up in NFL, but had a losing day in college football. Bridgewater looked great. Gerald Jones already locked in 2 NFL pick 6 picks. And there's Poppy Longwood in the house. All right, let's get to work, Donnie. Let's start with the Thursday nighter. Giants, Patriots opened at 46. The total now at 42. 53 Fahrenheit rain, winds at 19 miles per hour. New England opening up at minus 15.5, now at minus 16.5. Giants are decimated with injuries. There are no players to put up threats. Daniel Jones will not put up points against this defense without Barkley and Shepard. Patriots' pedestrian offense can be exposed by good defenses, and this Giants defense is not one of them. Donnie, it's too late for the under. Maybe it's time to go the other direction. And do you think the Patriots cover this big number?
It's a tough one because Thursday, again, you know me on Thursday night, Jimmy's like, Jimmy, I come with the same stuff, but this is one of the bigger mismatches that you're going to see in the NFL. Not because how the Giants have been playing and they can't actually compete. It's who's actually going to be on the field, Jimmy, for the Giants. Because if we're taking a look at just an offensive perspective for the Giants, they're already limited as is. They have a rookie quarterback going on the road on a short week of prep to go up against Bill Belichick and playing Foxborough. If I think I'm reading the numbers correctly, New England giving up 2 defensive touchdowns on the season. So now we're going to be the Giants, Jimmy. We're going to go into Thursday Night Football. No Sterling Shepard. Evan Ingram, they'll probably just sit him out for that ball game. Obviously, no Saquon Barkley. Also, name is escaping me now. The backup running back for the Giants also going to be out. So they're down to their third, Wayne Gallman. They're down to their third running back in this football game. Whatever the team total under is for the New York Giants, it's got to be a damn good play, man.
Yeah, it's got to be a damn good play. And the only hesitation I had was one of my losses this year was the Jets team total under against the Patriots when their offense managed to put up 0 points. And I lost that team total under. But I agree with you. The team total under. And are you getting the same weather reports? Rain, 19 miles per hour wind, somewhat ugly conditions?
Yep, rainy, windy, all that good stuff's going to be, molded into one. So it looks like, one of those games, Jimmy, where New England's already in playoff mode. They start to hand the football off. The only question that you have about this one is, Do the Giants, show up on defense? Is this one where they say, hey, we're too banged up. Let's just go and see what happens in this game. And the Patriots run one of those high 30 totals, just like they did last week, 33. But 33-7 last week against the Washington Redskins. That wouldn't hit the total in this one either. But we've seen a 4-point drop on SBRodds.com just on the total alone already.
Yeah, big drop. Ant Fam on the under. I'm wondering where he got it at. Tomorino leading Pats first half. Tomor says, I expect Pats offense to be much better at home with the offensive line hurt, and Giants have no running game with Barkley and Gallman out. Leading Pats first half. And there it is. Jay Peach says, write it down. Giants scoring 21. Wow. So if the Giants score 21, then you have to love this over. I'm going to copy and paste our guy, Jay Peach's action. Love Jay Peach. Great guy, great capper. Teddy B saying, Jimmy, hammer the Vikings this week. I will be at the game. Kirk Cousins has owned the Eagles even when he played with the Redskins. I'm telling you, Jimmy. I can't. Oh, and Fam got it right now at 42. It still makes sense. Would you take this under at 42, Donnie?
I would. There'd be no other way. I would. You can't see. It even fits in the last week's MO when you take a look at the New York Giants. They only scored 10 points against the Vikings, and they're going to need to score touchdowns in this game. And because they gave up a couple field goals in the red zone last week, I don't see them scoring 2 touchdowns. I got to lean on the under.
Makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. But I think I have to look at what the team total under is. And Joe Yerker says, don't write it down, Jimmy. Okay, Joe. Joe, you did save me a lot of money not taking those Colts props. Maybe. I think you did. Okay, let's keep rolling along. And Fam does say short week, laundry list of injuries on offense. Weather is perfect for the under. Wind is most important. Gas station says, what is the weather in Foxborough? It's going to be 53 Fahrenheit, rain, 19 miles per hour. Barry Block says, I'm not buying Danny Dimes, throwing any dimes on Thursday. So that is the Thursday nighter, Giants Patriots. I have to say that the team total under is the most appealing spot at this time. But do I want to go up against Jay Peach? Probably not. Let's move on to Sunday's action. We'll start across the pond in London with Panthers Buccaneers. Donnie, this Panthers Buccaneers spot, I was like, what am I missing here? Watching it go from the Buccaneers -1 to Carolina -2 is surprising to me. Total goes from 46 to 48. I do not want the over in England. Kyle Allen has this offense humming. The only thing about this game that scares me, if I was to make a move on the Buccaneers, is can they stop the run? They haven't seemed to be able to since week 1. Can they stop McCaffrey? Do you agree with this market move from the Panthers to the Buccaneers, Donnie? And what do you think of this total at 48?
I mean, I guess I tend to agree with him. I mean, last week when you take a look at the Buccaneers going in, a lot of people thought they had a really good chance to win that game outright, and why not? Teddy Bridgewater hadn't been playing that well. He finally steps out and plays well, and it's no harm that you go into the Superdome and take a loss in that game. But now you go overseas. It's that neutral site type conditions. I actually like the way that Tampa Bay is playing. Tampa Bay is running the ball very well on offense. They have some competent players, obviously, on the outside, and as long as you get some good quarterback play out of Jameis Winston, you can hang around. But the one thing I keep finding, it's amazing, because we're going to talk about another young quarterback, and the way Carolina is setting up Kyle Allen to be successful and really leaning on the running game. And when you're leaning on a running game like McCaffrey, I mean, they even got backup running backs, Jimmy, busting 70-yard runs last week to try to put that game away versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. I really like what's going on. The one thing that was a little bit shocking is Jacksonville was able to really get off on Carolina's defense passing the football, which they haven't allowed. I think Carolina's defense, I trust more than Tampa Bay's defense. I actually think I trust Carolina's offense the way it's operating now even more than Tampa Bay's offense. I agree with the market move, but it's one of those games, Jimmy, you're going cross seas, laying points. It's a tough one for me to try to get involved in.
It's a tricky one when you cross the pond. Marcus Sebastian is absolutely right asking this question. All he says is one of them already in England. What we've seen is whoever gets there first is winning this game. Is that too simple, Donnie? Or do you know if either team is over there yet?
I actually do not know. I don't know if they've flown over. I would assume they haven't, because usually we would be already hearing about this and getting involved. But you're right about it. Teams that get their first settled in, adjust their body clocks, and seem to be playing some pretty good football over there.
They do. They do. And shout out to Whale Capper with the Raiders on the +201 money line. Torino says, I'd lean Carolina. Tampa defense is garbage. They made Daniel Jones look like Dan Marino. There is truth to that. Is Tampa's defense garbage, Donnie RightSide?
I don't think it's garbage. I think it has a pretty talented front seven. You leave a little bit desired in the back end. But then again, you're not going against – I mean, again, Bridgewater was fantastic last week, and they have a lot more weapons on offense to me and a lot better offensive line, a lot better play caller than what we're going to see from Tampa Bay this week. So it's a tough one to go over. I think Carolina went man for man in this game. Who I trust more? I think I trust Carolina a little bit more than Tampa in this one.
I don't expect to make a move at this point because there are spots that I do like. Let's continue rolling down this card. Next up, Bengals, Ravens. Ravens open up at -10.5. Now 11s. I saw a 12. Is that 12 just at pinnacle? Yeah.
Some plus, but yeah, there are a lot of juiced up on that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so plus 109 at that 12. There are 11.5s. This total open at 47.5. Still there at pinnacle, but there's 48 and 48.5s. Donnie, I know the Bengals are bad. But this feels like too many points. I don't believe in this Ravens squad. 68 Fahrenheit, sunny, 14 miles per hour wind. Can the Bengals keep this close? Ravens have come back to earth. They're lucky to have the record that they have. If Rudolph doesn't get knocked out, the Steelers win that game. I'm interested in the under here, Bengals, Ravens. Is Bengals defense so bad that I should not take this under at 48? And is this too many points, Donnie? Because my initial lean is towards the Bengals.
You know what's interesting about this game? Because initially when you look at it, you say, well, how can we take Cincinnati Bengals seriously? What are they going to do right? You get a rookie coach, a rookie quarterback come in, and here's the problem that you have, because sometimes you can translate games to the next week and see how they play out. You had a really athletic quarterback that can run the football, and he dominated Cincinnati. Now you're going to get the next level of that dominant running quarterback coming in this week. That's going to be amazing to watch to see how they can actually balance this game out, because if I'm looking at Cincinnati right now, doesn't look like they're too efficient on offense, even though I don't even like the Baltimore defense as is. But from what I saw last week against a very limited offense with the Cardinals bringing to the table, they moved it up and down the field on Cincinnati. I think Lamar Jackson's going to have a monster game in this week.
So, see, Nico says, yes, too many points. Take Baltimore within a touchdown. Joe Yurkovich says both are too bad for and under. Lucas Paff says Lamar's going to run all over them. They couldn't stop Kyler. And Pham says, I don't think Ravens defense is bad at all. Tomarino says Bengals are down both starting tackles. They can't protect Dalton on the road. Barry Cockner says, ugly game. The Sports 78 says Bengals +7 will be a super contest play for me. Wow. So the Sports 78 going with this as a super contest play. And he says Bengals +11, ugly dog. Remember the Seattle Seahawks game week 1. And Robert Weimer says can't take Ravens in double digits. If you had a free play to make on a side right this very second at 11.5, Donnie, who would it be?
I would take the Ravens right now, even though it's hard to do. It's a division game, but from what I see out of Cincinnati, I don't see stops out of Cincinnati, and I think Cincinnati's offense can stop itself at this point.
Nutflush Allen seeing a final score of 28-6. 28-6 is our guy Nutflush Allen's prediction on this game. Okay, let's move on to Seahawks and Browns. Okay, so my concern that a recency bias is at play is the only reason why I haven't pulled the trigger on the Seattle Seahawks. Flash has already pulled the trigger on the Seahawks. 63 Fahrenheit, sunny. The wind is 20 miles per hour in Cleveland on Sunday. Cleveland has a decent defense, but as long as their quarterbacks are out, they are a complete mess. Their defense is not good. Baker Mayfield is being figured out. The Browns are poorly coached. Donnie, for us last night, when we saw that first play, that Kitchens had to go to a trick play to open up the game, I knew immediately that the Browns were in big trouble. I couldn't believe what I was saying. Like, basically, they're saying, we're completely outmatched tonight, so we're going to try this trick spot to mess with you. Seattle is not as good as San Francisco, and I still think they take care of business. I think in Cleveland, things are going to get worse before they get better. Do we take Seattle right now, Donnie, or is there a recency bias in play? And I also kind of like the under here. I don't think either team will be able to move the ball that easily. But I'd love to hear your breakdown here. This is a spot.
It's like a digestive game. And what I mean by that is sometimes you take a look and like, oh, I want to fire right away. And then you try to take it back and say, well, let me look at both angles here, because the easy thing to do, and I agree with the early line movement going through Seattle, because what you're seeing out of, Cleveland at this point, you're saying, you know what, I'm not really too sure I want to go into it, because we know what we're going to get out of Seattle. And that's going to be a pretty honest effort. But again, Seattle going on the road, a little bit different than playing at home. Yeah, they won 27-10 versus the Arizona Cardinals, and they did beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, held on 28-26. So I think they're overall the better football team. I actually do, but it's one of those situations where I think Cleveland can come back from this and put an honest effort out. And look, we're talking about the same things, Jimmy. If we're down 3 or 4 starters in the secondary, you're already on an uphill climb at this point. But there's a legitimate shot that they can get back Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams back for this game, and also have that chip on their shoulder where they were embarrassed on Monday Night Football. It's a tough one early in the week. Yes, I'm leaning towards Seattle, but I got to tell you, if I can get some good reports coming back, I might be inching towards trying to build a case for the Cleveland Browns this week, because everybody's down on them.
So are you saying to somebody like me that I should wait and find out about Greedy and Denzel before I make a move on the Seahawks?
They're huge. It's the same way with any football team, Jimmy. If you told me both starting quarterbacks have a chance to be out or in, I would wait on that information. But again, if we're talking about people that jump the line and say, hey, I'm going to get Seattle at +1, I can't hurt you, because you're getting an honest line that's probably going to close with Seattle as a favorite. So if you jump the line, and kudos to you for doing that, but I need to see a little bit more. I need to see some of the tea leaves coming out of Cleveland this week, how they're going to rebound, how they're going to respond, because there are ways that Cleveland should be able to attack this team. You were set up to fail in this last game. If we're taking a look at the Browns, you put a lot of effort in, and you crushed the Baltimore Ravens. Then you had to fly out to the West Coast on a team rested and ready with a better coaching staff, and they annihilated you. I wasn't really surprised in the victory by the 49ers. I was surprised by how much they beat them by. But coming back in this game, there's a lot to like about Cleveland returning back home and playing, and we all know Seattle plays extremely well at home and does struggle at times on the road.
If Greedy and Ward are in the game, does this total drop to 45.5?
I don't know if it drops to 45.5, but I'm with you looking at the under. What gives you the sense, looking outside of playing, roughshod defense in Baltimore, and they had a couple nice breakaway runs, watching both of these teams operate, I think Seattle's going to be able to move the football. But the one thing we do like about Seattle is they're real athletic in their front seven. So they're going to be able to contain and keep guys in check the same way Cleveland is. Cleveland has a pretty athletic offensive line or defensive line. They should be able to contain Russell Wilson as well.
Nico says, line is begging you to take the Browns. That's a trap. Joe Yurkovich says, Clooney going to eat like Bosa did. Ant Fam says, can only take the under in this game. I think Baker does the classic Baker thing and ball out after facing adversity this past week. That's an interesting take from our Ant Fam, whom was all over the 49ers. Speaking of which, I got to say this, Donnie, our very own Jay Peach last night was on the Niners first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, Niners first half, Niners full game, and over 1.5 interceptions. Jay Peach, shout out. Very, very strong capping. And just spectacular work. Straight up, Jay Peach. Great, great, great work. Okay, I'd like the under. So now I'm interested in the Giants team total under. That is a play that I'm very interested in, may make. I'm going to need more time with this Bengals-Ravens spot, but the Seahawks-Browns under is a look that I will be probably taking very soon. Capper John says Seattle struggles on the road in the elements as it gets colder. It's going to be 50 degrees in Cleveland this week. All right. Okay. And Nufflashan says, do not forget to put in your capping breakdowns the coaches that will make stupid mistakes. Examples, Houston, Cleveland, and more. And Ant Fam says, is Jay Peach a god? Is Jay Peach a god? Jay Peach. I love Jay Peach. Okay, let's get. But Ant Fam, he used to say terrible things about our Niners when I came down here a couple years ago. Maybe they deserve to have those things said about them. But Jay Peach would refer to the Niners as open ass. Open ass. Got to sound out of Donnie there. Okay, let's keep rolling. Keep rolling. Next up, we have Texans, Chiefs. Houston, Kansas City opening up at -6.5 now. 4.5s and 5s on the board. This total opened up at 55.5 now. 54.5, 65 Fahrenheit. Sunny, 8 miles per hour. So my first instinct here is to take the Texans and take the over. But I don't know if Mahomes is healthy. And I don't know how beat up that ankle is. That's what I need to know. KC's pretty beat up. After watching them lose to the Colts, it's not like the sky's falling, but they have a lot of injuries. No Watkins, no Hill. And if Mahomes doesn't have the ability to make plays with his legs, well, we saw what this offense looks like. It looks bad. Texans offense woke up in a big way. This Chiefs defense is slightly better than they were last year, but that's not saying much. Last year, they were awful. Texans and Chiefs, Donnie. Texans and Chiefs. I like the Texans and the over at this point. Have not made any moves yet. Donnie, right side, Texans, Chiefs.
I like where you're going. I agree with the line movement here. You can say, oh, my God, Donnie's looking at Houston and maybe trying to take Houston in this situation. Yeah, Houston's not laying points. I thought their offense really took shape last week. They pounded out a bad Atlanta football team. But it's not really about Atlanta last week of what Houston looked like. It's more about what we're going to get out of the Chiefs, Jimmy. If we're talking about a super athletic quarterback that can make all the throws and is very athletic in the pocket and maneuvering around, now we're talking maybe a high ankle sprain. We don't know if we're going to get Tyreek Hill back in this football game. And you lose two huge cogs on the defensive line coming in this week. That's the last thing you want to do when Deshaun Watson's going to sit back there. Maybe you can get after that Houston offensive line. I think Houston's going to be able to put up some points in this football game. Do I think Kansas City probably will win? I do. But if they don't, Houston's going to keep it close. They do have a legitimate shot to go in here and win a football game just because of how much damaged goods that we have on the Kansas City side. Now, that may change if we get some practice reports later in the week where, Mahomes is moving around fine and Tyreek Hill comes back. That might change. But you're right. Whenever you're taking a look at Kansas City, even though last week they only put up, 13 points in that football game, they're an over machine. When they get cooking and their weapons are healthy, they're going to be able to put up numbers on anybody. I thought Indianapolis played a fantastic football game planned very well. But looking from a Houston perspective on offense, I think Houston's offense is going to be able to do some pretty good things here going into Kansas City.
Homerino Tomor says, I'd lean Chiefs, but I have to see if Mahomes is healthy. Chiefs run defense is trash, but Houston has no running game. Jim Bean says, KC bounce back. KC bounce back. Long balls, Larry. Does Texans team total over? Dutch Boy Fresh. Texans 5.5 is the look. Jump on it now. Sports 78 says solid value on KC at the 5.5. Houston coming in a little overconfident, perhaps. I think KC defense puts up a better effort than last week. But Gerald Martinez says KC defense is horrid. Mr. Rizzo says Texans gotta be the play. Robert Weimer says over all day. Chiefs have no D, and with Watson running around all day, he will be able to find receivers. Mahomes will be able to put up at least 25 like usual. Teddy B says there's no way in hell the Chiefs lose back-to-back games. Barsha Asami says Chiefs offense will bounce back, leaning over. Take it easy. He's also on the Calgary Flames with me. Okay, I like it. -1.5, though. We don't take juice line. All right, there it is. There's that Texans Chiefs. I don't think anything's changed here. If you were going to make a move on the over, Donnie, would you need to get more information on Mahomes' ankle?
I don't know. I like even if Mahomes, because they're not going to play the same game plan, Houston, as opposed to what Indianapolis did, pound the football and do certain things. They're just an over team. As long as I'm getting something average, which it looks like now the average totals are probably going to be in the mid-50s consistently for Kansas City, Mahomes is going to suit up in this football game. And you might get a late bonus if you read some of the things. Because if Tyreek Hill comes back and he's A-okay to go in this football game, they're going to have a track meet out here regardless of who's injured.
Do you expect Tyreek Hill to be in the lineup this Sunday?
You know what? Sometimes when you panic, Jimmy, like when you lose a football game, we can't lose again. We got to keep pace with the New England Patriots. Sometimes you bump up that timetable like, hey, you know what? We should win this game. Let's push it back. Sometimes you bump it up. There's really good things where he's healthy. He's running around. He just has to get clearance. So the one good thing that we're dealing with a guy with speed, Jimmy, we're not dealing with like a bad ankle injury, a groin injury, an abdominal injury, a knee injury. This was a shoulder injury. So as soon as he gets the green light to go back out there, his speed is still there.
Teddy B, I agree with that. I agree with that breakdown. Barry Block says Teddy B, maybe the Chiefs aren't the same team as last year. If Mahomes isn't playing hurt, if Mahomes is playing hurt, give me Houston. I cannot trust Chiefs O-line or D-line. Tormino says Chiefs injuries on the offensive line are a bigger deal than Hill. They still have plenty of speed. It was their offensive line that was beat up against the Colts. Okay, then there's Vitalis in the house. There's easy money on the spread with the Panthers backing the Panthers. Okay, let's keep rolling along. And next up, we go to a move that I would like to make right now. Donnie, I would like to make right now, but this market move confounds me. New Orleans, Jacksonville. Saints open as 2-point favorites. Now the Jaguars are 1-point favorites. This total at 44 or 44.5. How can the Jags be favored? Peyton has Teddy B working a simple game plan, and it's flowing. Minshew is fine. He's a good young quarterback, but can he tear up this New Orleans football team? Jacksonville's poorly coached, and their best player is pretending he has a back injury. Donnie, why is this market move happening, and should I back the Saints here?
I got to tell you, Jimmy, the only thing that keeps me from betting the New Orleans Saints over the past couple of weeks, you hear me saying, look, Teddy, you can't be putting up 250 yards. You can't have 250 yards of total offense if you're going to, get my money behind it if you want to cover as a favorite. I saw a new Teddy Bridgewater in the dome. He was pushing the football down. He was damn near perfect. It says he has an interception, but that was an interception that deflected off of Alvin Kamara. He pushed it downfield. He didn't even give up the Saints didn't even give up a sack in that football game. So we're going to take that big, nasty offensive line. We're going to get a Teddy Bridgewater feeling good about himself. All your weapons are healthy. And let's not forget, we always overshadow the Saints defense, Jimmy, is absolutely balling at this point. So now we're going to flip it over and watching the Jacksonville Jaguars. I was so impressed. Gardner Minshew is a legitimate NFL quarterback, able to manipulate the pocket, throw out, pump fakes, look off wide receivers and defensive backs. He's been amazing in this one. But when it comes down to it, I think I trust the New Orleans Saints a little bit more. Hey, they're going outside the dome. They don't play as well. That does factor in a little bit. And I love the way the Jacksonville Jaguars are playing. But if I'm going to get another back injury out of Jalen Ramsey in this football game, I saw enough out of Teddy Bridgewater last week to say, you know what? He's finally back in rhythm. That offense is going to put up points. And that defense is phenomenal for the Saints. I don't agree with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jimmy, being a favorite here. I don't.
Either do I. And I think it's got to come back to New Orleans. If enough of us are sitting here are perplexed by it. Okay, give me the angle, Donnie, on the other side. Give me the opposite argument. If you were backing this market move towards the Jaguars, would the argument be Bridgewater on the road? He's not going to be able to succeed on the road. Would that be the argument? What would be the main points of this market move towards the Jaguars?
That is exactly correct. You're taking a look at a Saints team that's without Drew Brees, which even if they had Drew Brees, what would they be? Let's just say they'd be favored by 2.5 or 3 points if we're looking at one of those future lines, technically. But now you're looking at it coming back. Also, when you check out SBRs.com, you can take a look at, who's betting what. It's a heavy favorite because people say, oh, New Orleans is back the same way we are doing. Jacksonville is a really good football team, but you're still talking about a rookie quarterback who I think is playing extremely well. They're leaning on Leonard Fournette. If this was the old Saints defense where we laughed at and they gave up 35 points a week and Drew Brees has to shoot it out, this is a completely rebuilt Saints defense that can do a lot of good things. They can put pressure on a young quarterback. They can defend on the backside. This is saying I really like Gardner Minshew. I do. But the Jacksonville Jaguars defense hasn't been locked down by any stretch. Did you see him last week giving up run after run after run? You're going to have Kamara coming at you in this football game who can do a lot of the same things that Run CMC can do for the Carolina Panthers. It's a square play. It really is. But I love what the Saints are doing right now.
I agree with you completely. Tormey knows the Saints defense with Rankin's back and Davenport and Jordan is very strong.
They're really good, yeah.
Jake Bell says, I love a +1 dog. Farshad Hassami on Jacksonville. That makes me uncomfortable. I fail miserably when I'm on the other side of Farshad Hassami. Brandon Lugo liking the under, and Ant Fam backing the under. Says, go with the under. Teddy won't ball out again against the Jags defense, and Saints defense is balling. What do you think about this total, Donnie? It's low at 44. Can you get under it?
I actually do think it's low, Jimmy, because I like Minshew's put up some decent numbers against some pretty good defenses, and now we're looking at the role reversal. This, again, is preference on if Jalen Ramsey is not there just to say, you know what, Jalen Ramsey one-on-one with Michael Thomas and let's let everybody eat, that might be a completely different scenario. But these two teams should be able to put up. Minshew has shown the ability to move the football, and now that I'm getting a re-engaged, offense with Teddy Bridgewater for the Saints, they were phenomenal last week on offense. I think they can continue it. We're looking at both teams possibly getting into the 20s. I think they can do that. If we're looking just sidewise, still lean New Orleans, but I think this number can get over the total. I do.
I want the Saints. Teddy B says, take the Saints. I agree. I want the Saints, and just the market moves a little perplexing. Okay, I really can't wait to talk about this game. We all love talking Eagles football with you, Donnie. And here we go, Eagles at Vikings. Philly, Minnesota. Minnesota opening up at -3, and we have a big Minnesota Vikings fan in the chat. Our guy Teddy B in the house. Total here is the same as New Orleans Jacksonville game at 44. It's actually down to 43.5 in a couple books. Okay, so I don't want to talk too much. I'd much rather hear Donnie talk about the Eagles than myself. But clearly, we all know this is a tough matchup for Philly. And I'm still very confident again with my Philly Eagle future bets division conference. and Super Bowl. But the Eagles are very banged up here, and Donnie will give us the most latest insights on how banged up they are. The question is, Donnie, is their secondary. It just seems like it's an absolute mess. And Cousins and Thielen responded to the criticism. Now, they did that to a weak Giants defense. Can they do it to this Eagles defense? With Cousins and Thielen, and my thinking is sometimes you need a game against a weak defense to get your confidence back. And it seems like that's what we've seen from the Vikings. Wentz will need to put up some points because Cousins and the Vikings will. And that leads me to the over. Donnie, over 43.5 and the Vikings at this point. Let's see what Donnie has to say about his Eagles in mini.
I agree with your sentiment on this. When we're trying to take a look at a side, between these two, they're two really good football teams. Oh, well, Kirk Cousins stinks. I mean, Kirk Cousins is going to be fine. The Minnesota Vikings are going to have a pretty good season, as we predicted even in the summer. But taking a look at the struggles of what the Philadelphia Eagles don't really do well, that's defend against speed, especially at wide receiver, if the quarterback's going to have some time to throw. Now, a lot of those pressures were alleviated when you play the New York Jets. We can't get to the quarterback. Now we get to the quarterback 10 times, from a defensive line perspective going against the Jets. But you have 120 yards, whatever the Jets actually accumulated last week. You have to take a look at that and really back it out. But I do actually like the over in this football game. The Eagles have showed whether or not they have a single wide receiver that's available, they can put up points. 32 opening week. No wide receivers against Atlanta. Still got 20. Going against Detroit. Still banged up at wideout. 24 points. Green Bay put up 34. The Jets, 31 points, even though 2 of those came from defensive scores, but it's still tacked on to the principle. If we're looking at a Minnesota team, I loved what they did last week. They ran up and down the field almost for 500 yards, 490 to be exact, versus the New York Football Giants, who have a really bad defense. I think the points will be there. I think they had that kumbaya moment where everybody was mad. Everybody wanted to get off. Diggs didn't really do his thing, but Adam Thielen was wide open the entire game, and the football was delivered. I actually like the total going over more than like a side in this one, Jimmy.
So do I.
Yeah.
But I am leaning towards the Vikings. If I gave you a $500 free play on the side, a big bet, big score bet on a side, who would you take, Eagles or Vikings at the 3?
It's hard. It's so hard to win on the road in the NFL. It just is. Now, if we're looking, again, I'm going to take a quick approach to this. If the Eagles were a little bit healthier at the cornerback position, I would really like the Eagles getting the 3 points. But they're going on the road. It's going to be a loud environment. It's going to be in a dome. You don't have Deshaun Jackson. Should the Eagles score points? Yes. But honest to God, same thing. If this game was in Philadelphia, I would really like the Philadelphia Eagles. Since it's in Minnesota, I'm going to side with Minnesota early in the week until I see some of these reports coming back of what's actually going to be available on Sunday.
I agree. And the over in the Eagles-Vikings game and the under in that Seahawks game are the totals that appeal to me most, especially the over here at Eagles-Vikings. In fact, this could end up being my 2-unit play in the Pick 6 contest. Let's move on to Redskins at Dolphins. We must speak of it. Redskins-Dolphins. Redskins opened up -4.5. Now they're at -3.5. This total is being at 41, although 5 times hanging at 41.5. Nice weather in Miami. Okay, so both teams terrible. Both teams haven't won. And Gruden seemed like he checked out a long time ago and didn't care. And part of the reason why Redskins have been so bad is Gruden. And the reason why Miami's being so bad is because they don't have an NFL roster. Washington is not as bad as they appeared. There are some bright spots on the field. I think at 3.5, the Redskins seem like a spot for me, but everyone talking Dolphins. Willie says Dolphins, I guess. Vitalis says Dolphins. Jim Bean says Fish win. Tom Marino says Dolphins are still playing hard. I'd lean them, but I'm not betting this game. Nick O says Redskins will rally after firing Gruden. Take the Skins at -3.5. I agree with that sentiment. I would like to take the Skins here. I'd love to hear your breakdown. Redskins, Dolphins, Donnie.
This is interesting because even as early as last week on FanDuel, where they let you bet the week ahead lines before these football games fire up on Sundays, this line was 6.5 as a favorite for the Washington Redskins. My goodness, already dropped 3 full points, and why not? Because when we were going over look ahead lines, you're saying like, who's going to be the race to the bottom? Who's going to win a game first? And you say, wait a second, we got the Miami Dolphins here, off a bye, going to play the Washington Redskins, who just fired their football coach. Don't know who's going to be in their quarterback spot, who's going to be banged up or healthy, offensively and defensively. If you take a look at the rosters complete all all the way down. I think Washington actually has a more talented roster, but where's their head going to be after this football game? And if the Dolphins are looking at this saying, look, we got legitimately probably one shot to win a football game, and this just might be the shot. Coming off a bye, we're going to be at home. Let's see what happens in this game. I'm going to stick to my old laurels here with the Miami Dolphins. I think they're going to be excited for this football game. I think like the first 15 plays probably will get a chance to be scripted that they can work on and really get a look at the Redskins. They're going to be plus money in the first half. I'm going to look for the Dolphins. If it's 3.5, we're probably looking like 2.5 as a line that'll eventually come out for the first half. Give me the Dolphins first half here. I just can't trust the Miami Dolphins, Jimmy, full game. They just run out of gas, but I think they'll be excited and keep it at least close, maybe even winning at the half in this ball game.
That will probably keep me off of the Redskins. Joe Martinez says Gruden was just scapegoat. Players didn't hate him. No galvanizing rally moment. Brant Hunt, my guy. Thank you, my friend. Stu Chaos says, Tomino, we don't have an O-line to save our life. Ixnizzle 420 says going to end in a tie. Nick O says Redskins are a better team. Clint Richardson says Miami first half has been a good play. Dennis Garcia says need to know who Washington quarterback is. Colt McCoy pass. Anyone else bet. Bogey 34 liking Miami first half +3 and +170. And the Stu Chaos says what about the total at 41? Donnie, what do you think about this total?
Man, this is such an interesting game to try to break down because, again, we don't know who's going to quarterback. We don't know the type of teams or the psyche that we're going to get out. But if we're having two bad football teams, sometimes I think, Jimmy, they just throw caution to the wind and try fake punts and deep routes and all this nonsense. If it's 41, they're two bad teams. I think maybe pick six one way, a punt return the other way. I lean over the 41, man. I do.
That's an interesting take. And when you were saying it, I started seeing it. Robert Weimer says, yeah, I've been smoking something, but Miami wins going away. Get out some frustration. Ooh. This is Miami's only chance this year, and they know it. Take the flippers. And Ant Fam says, F this game. Not watching, not playing it. Ant Fam. Okay, let's keep rolling. Now let's go to Ant Fam and I's San Francisco 49ers against the LA Rams. Rams open at -3. Now there's 3.5. 4s are on the way. This total opened at 48.5. It shut up to 50.5. 79 Fahrenheit, sunny, 6 miles per hour. Juszczyk injury is bad. Their lead blocker. They paid him that money for a reason. Niners are on a short week. Rams are on a long week. But it feels like we're in another spot where the Niners are being disrespected. Rams secondary looks bad. Goff doesn't handle front seven pressure well. I think, Donnie, that I don't agree with this move to the over. In fact, I like it at 50.5 because I think I should take the under here. And I think the Niners are being disrespected and should probably be backed here. Donnie, right side, Niners, Rams.
What a good football game. And I got a question like the schedule makers, which we seem to question every week. This is a 4:05 game, but the Dallas-New York Jets game is the 4:25 game. This game is going to be awesome. You got two of the good young play callers in the NFL teeing it up, and it's no surprise, is it, Jimmy? We watched last night, this game before the game started, 4.5 in that range, now dips down to 3.5, and I completely agree with the line movement. What are we getting out of now? Juszczyk is a big injury, but look, he's a fullback. I understand he's a Swiss Army knife and a leader and he can block, but there's a lot of weapons on the 49ers. And when you come into the game with a game plan where Juszczyk is not going to be in, it's a little bit easier because you can have your formation set, as you saw when he went out last week, maybe a little bit more stagnant on offense for the 49ers, but they look fantastic doing it. They're going to be able to rush the passer. The only question I have is the offensive line for the Rams is better than Cleveland. Is that 49ers front seven just going to completely collapse the pocket and make an obsolete, offense? And Todd Gurley can't get out of the backfield because he has to stay in a block. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think there's going to be points in this game, but I think it's accurately capped around that 50 range because when we look at the Rams and the 49ers, look, this is going to be an even back and forth game. I got to tell you, I don't know how much of a home field advantage the Rams going to have at this point. Right now, I'm looking 49ers because it is 3.5. But if that dips around that 3 range, maybe I'm looking for the Rams because what we've seen in the NFL also, Jimmy, these teams that get extra rest or that mini bye on Thursday, they've been sensational the following weeks.
They have been so sensational. And I wonder if that's enough just to keep me off of this. Torino says if Staley is out, that's a big loss this game. He is still going to be out. He's not coming back yet. As far as I know, says Rams have a good edge rush with Fowler and Matthews. Jake Bell says +4 49ers 2-unit play already submitted. Ant Fam says division game. 49ers slowest pace team in the league. Niners defense is strong. Goff becomes a puppy when the pressure comes. No home field advantage. I agree with everything that Ant said. What do you think about going against this market move and taking the under? I know you said they're going to be points, but that's a high one at 50.5, Donnie.
No, it is. You're right, because I still have the whole Jared Goff, and he's going to leave plays out on the football field. I like the Niners on offense, but their defense. Look, when you have two teams that can theoretically get after the pass, get after the quarterback, that's going to stunt some of these drives. There's going to be some holding penalties. It's going to slow down the football game, and it is a divisional game where these two teams know each other quite well. So usually in those situations, what do we like? Taking the under, but there are a lot of weapons out on this football field. Kind of tough for me to actually say, you know what, I really am strong on the under or strong on the over. I lean towards the 49ers early in the week, but this would be an interesting one to see how it plays out for the rest of the week.
TJ Park saying backup for Staley, Escola played well. That's a sign of a really good football team, and we saw it with the Niners. We saw it. Akila Witherspoon goes out, and here's Emmanuel Mosley, who wasn't even supposed to make the team, was supposed to be on the practice roster. He was great last night. And I know that Sherman had to take a lot of at times was taking the number one receiver, and Beckham looked terrible all game, so whatever there. And there's my guy Ziggy Balls in the house. And when you have these guys coming in, these replacement players, and they step up, that's what makes a good football team. And we saw it with your Eagles when you guys won the Super Bowl. Jake Bell says 49ers run it better, play defense better, getting 4. Love it. Wow. I just hate being hesitant, and that's what losing does. Because when I'm winning, I fire shots. I take them confidently. And I am wearing this Moon jersey for a reason. We've won 2 weeks in a row, just not enough. Let's move on to Falcons, Cardinals. Donnie, this total has gone up, and I understand it. Here, this is a total going up. I understand. Open at 49.5, now 51.5. Even 52 is a Bovada and Bookmaker. Atlanta opening up at -2.5, and that's where they stand. Atlanta is so bad right now. But they are the better football team, aren't they, Donnie? They got to be the better football team than the Cardinals. They have to be able to beat Arizona. The Cardinals are so far away from being real competitors. The Falcons should be able to put up points. What about the Falcons and the over here, Donnie RightSide?
Yeah, I agree with you there. And I think, sometimes you're taking a look at how badly they got beaten last week being the Atlanta Falcons. I understand that they were outclassed versus Tennessee. How could you bet this team? Their football coach is probably going to be fired. But it does get back to NFL rosters and where these teams can – Arizona's defense is not good, and they don't have Patrick Peterson still coming back in on defense. That offense, as long as you get some time, maybe we'll get a little bit healthier on the Atlanta Falcons offensive line. They should be able to move the football and move the football at will versus Arizona. When you watch Arizona, the one thing that they do well is the quarterback is always on the move. He's going to run 10 or 12 times. He's going to make some Houdini plays out there, but it's a lot of street football, which you can get away with when you play the Cincinnati Bengals, who don't stop anything. The one thing that's interesting about Atlanta is their front seven is extremely fast. They're not built for power, but also the one key cog, which is making this Arizona offense be very fluid, is the running back position. If you're going to tell me heading into this football game that their top running back was back locked up last game and we don't know if he's going to go this week, that's a major hurdle that they're going to have to cross. If Johnson doesn't go in this football game for Arizona, I really like the Atlanta Falcons.
So do I, but I know exactly what Just Jordan is saying right now when he says, Jesus, I don't know what to say about my home team Falcons. Robert Weimer says, like the over big time for this one. I think Atlanta takes out some frustration on the Cardinals, and much love to you, Ziggy Balls, my guy. I think that the Falcons and the over is the play, and I'm not concerned about this 51.5 or 52. Do you think this move on the over needs to be done now, Donnie?
You know what? That's an interesting one, because I actually think it might be a little bit different, because I'm factoring in right now. I don't think Johnson's going to play in this game. And until that goes public, maybe you might get a half, maybe a point movement going south. If you think it's going to go over, we're not really worried about, 50, 51 points. But I would wait, because I think it's more likely that you see maybe a 50 than you see like a 52, if that makes sense. I would wait on that, because I think if Johnson's out, oh my God, how are they going to score? I just think the pace is going to dictate, and Atlanta should be able to name the number. Atlanta should be in the 30s in this football game, and you'll get enough street ball out of Kyler Murray where they should be able to hold tight and get in the 20s.
That is a very excellent point, and thank you for sharing with me. I need to know what to do on this spot. Do you think this Atlanta -2.5 is set with Johnson out of the lineup?
Another thing, yeah, and it's an interesting thing because we're always talking about getting numbers, and there's the numbers that we don't like to cross over for betting are the 3s and the 7s at this point. I don't know if this number is going to turn into a hard 3 with them on the road. I don't know if that's going to be because what did it open up? -1 at some outlets offshore at SBRodds.com. Some opened up at 3, sitting in that 2.5 range. If you think Atlanta's going to win the football game, you probably should honestly take it now 2.5 because if it drops to 1.5, oh my God, I missed out on that point. The 3 is the number that you're going to worry about. If you like Atlanta, you should just like them under 3 at this point.
I do like them. I do like them. Riku Roxa says people keep taking the Falcons, and he laughs his ass off. Ziggy Ball's leaning Falcons. Jake Bell already on the over. Tom Marino leaning Atlanta in the over. Same with my guy, Ant Fam. Same with myself. Nico says Falcons is a road favorite. That's a joke. Nico says I'm not betting Falcons anymore. Jim Bean says Atlanta wins. Brent Hunt says the over seems obvious. Wow. After all these breakdowns, I'm really into this Falcon spot at this point. Very, very much into Falcons at this point. Okay, let's keep rolling. Cowboys, Jets is our next spot. Cowboys open at -8.5 now at 7.5 if your book allows it. Also, my opening lines are Pinnacle. I've been using Pinnacle opening lines on my show and this show for the last little while. Sam Darnold is good to go. He will be the starting quarterback for the New York Jets. This total opened at 43.5. Is now at 43. The Jets are garbage. But Sam Darnold gives them hope. But, man, do they need Mosley back bad. I've been saying it for years, as long as I've known Dak Prescott. Now, he's burnt me a couple times, but I do not think he's a good quarterback. I think he's just a game manager. There's our guy, Nasty Nate, joining us right now. I have nothing on this spot. I don't know what to say. I guess the more I think about Darnold with the Jets, they become more appealing. This could be a get-right game for the Cowboys where they smash a bad team like the Jets. Donnie, RightSide, Cowboys, Jets.
They played some pretty good defenses, the Jets, and I think Darnold coming back is going to be a real boon for their offense. Now, whether that means they score 6 points or 12 points, they're going to be more efficient on offense just by having Sam Darnold back. But also, you talk about a key cog, like C.J. Mosley in that defense as the quarterback in the middle. That is a pretty big deal. But when we take a look at like banged up teams or what are we getting back, it's going to be really key because this is why we like to have a Tuesday show and we like to have a Friday show. Because if we're talking to Dallas Cowboys going on the road this weekend, maybe without La'el Collins at right tackle and also Tyron Smith at left tackle, that's going to be a real problem. There's an outclassing of talent, which we know Dallas has much more talent than the New York Jets do. But if we're going to get a Sam Darnold back, if we're going to get maybe some key cogs back on the offensive line, C.J. Mosley back on defense, we're not talking about the Jets winning the football game. We're talking about 7.5 out here where Dallas going to have to go on the road and win by double digits. I'm not too sure they can do that with how banged up they are on offense, especially the offensive line.
Interesting. Ziggy Ball says, I love the Cowboys on the spread here. Cowboys off 2 losses. I think Cowboys pound them. Nico says, too many points. Take the boys with the TD. Matthew Miller was able to get the Jets plus 9.5. Tom Marino says, I'd lean under. Dallas backup tackle was horrible last week, too. They'll want to run the ball. Jim Bean says Darnold back will jolt the Jets. They will keep it close. Wade is so old, says in play. The Cowboys. Tormino says Jets offense was trash even with Darnold against the Bills week 1, but I'm heavy into
Bills are good though. The
Buffalo
Bills, like that is one take that you do like to look at. Say, well, what were they doing with Darnold? The Bills are outrageous on defense, so that's kind of a tough barometer to use.
It is. And my $400 on the over 6.5 will be catching any minute now. I'm very excited about that. I need the money. Let's go to Titans, Broncos right now. Tennessee, Denver. Denver opening as 2.5-point favorites. And it looks like we may get some 2s on the board here shortly. This total opened at 40, now at 39. 63 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7 miles per hour will be the wind in Denver. Broncos aren't good all of a sudden. The Chargers are awful and injured, so let's not give Denver too much credit. This is another simple look to me like the Falcons over the Cardinals, and that's just me saying, look, Donnie, the Titans are a better football team than Denver. The problem is you just never know what you're going to get from Mariota. This is a spot, Titans, 2.5-point dogs, where I want to back them. I want the Titans here, Donnie. Titans, Broncos, what do you think?
This is an interesting one because now we're sort of flipping the script. The reason why we liked the Denver Broncos last week going to play the Chargers because we thought it might have that one last stand effort. Like we played really hard the first 4 games. Some breaks didn't go our way. We're getting 6.5 points. Let's see what we can do. The Denver Broncos dominated the Chargers last week. And the hardest thing to do is, look, I know Joe Flacco's a veteran. He hurts me so bad in so many ways. And even though I cashed in and won this football game, being up 14-0, throwing a stupid interception, being up 17-0, where you just have to protect the football, throwing a ball that gets tipped and gets intercepted, allowing the other team back into the game. I continuously see this, but I got to say, Jimmy, second week in a row, or actually third week in a row, I like the Denver Broncos again in this spot, being high at elevation. I think it's going to be a really close football game. I love the ground attack that Denver is wielding out there. Lindsey's been phenomenal over the first part of the season. You're getting really good play out of the wide receiver Courtland Sutton. You're also getting really good play out of Emmanuel Sanders. You got some moving parts that you like. You might even get Juwan James back, your prized offseason addition as your left tackle. There's a lot to like about the Denver Broncos. They haven't given up yet, and it just goes to the fact like the Tennessee Titans going on the road. You know they're not going to go dominate on offense. It's going to be a close game, and in those close games, Jimmy, I usually lean on the home team.
Yeah, I hear that. Ziggy Balls says overreaction on spread. Broncos look ahead spot to the Chiefs. Brandon Lucas and Broncos being in every game, just can't get W's. After hearing Donnie's breakdown, I think I'm going to take the asterisk off of the Titans. Dutch Boy Fresh leaning Titans. Tomino said, I don't trust either team. I'd lean under. This is a low total, Donnie, at 39. Can they get under it?
I think, it's crazy. 38 in the NFL, I'm assuming we're probably not going to get really bad windy conditions and just a normal day in Denver. It's so hard to stay under 38, but what does Denver Broncos want to do right now? Throw short, throw a couple plays here and there. They have the same MO every game, get a lead, sit on the lead, nothing really stretching it out. And again, from the Titans perspective, I don't think the Titans are going to be able to walk up and down the field now that the Broncos are getting a little bit healthier back on defense. It does actually play to an under here, even though crazy, it's a 38.
It's so low. It is so low. Let's move on to the Sunday nighter. Steelers, Chargers. Chargers open up at -6. There are some 7s on the board. 7 at Bovada, 7 at BetOnline, 7 at Pinnacle. The 7 at Pinnacle is at +109. 6.5s everywhere else. This total opened up at 41.5, and we see a bunch of 41s on the board now. 70 Fahrenheit, sunny, 6 miles per hour in Los Angeles will be the win. Chargers, sorry. Yes, okay, that is right. Sorry, I was looking at, that's the same wind as the Broncos game. Okay, Chargers are not good. Should they be 7-point favorites over anyone, Donnie? I know it's must-win time for them, and the Steelers are down to Devlin Hodges at quarterback. I'm expecting Devlin Hodges, but this is a Chargers team that now, we already know they don't have Derwin James. Now they don't have Melvin Ingram either. I mean, this Chargers defense, this Chargers team is just beaten up and hurt. And even with Devlin Hodges, I lean towards the Steelers covering. Is that crazy, Donnie?
You lean towards the Steelers, what you're saying? It's not crazy because you're getting 7 points, and what we see out of the Chargers is they run every play down to 1 second. They throw 75,000 crossing routes, and it's just what they do. And I like actually the way the defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers is stepping up. But having said that, a third-string quarterback going on the road in this first game, it's such a tough thing to overcome. So I think the Steelers will be game in this, and they'll try to rise up. But let's not forget also, we're getting a 1-4 Pittsburgh team. We're not getting like, a 2 an even record or, above 500 team. Let's rally around this kid until, we might figure out when Mason Rudolph's getting back or somebody's coming down. This is a really tough blow to go out on the road. Now, the one thing I will say is this will be an absolute home game. The Steelers fans will take this stadium over, and it's going to be loud in the favor of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's going to be nice. It's one of those games, Jimmy. If it's 7, I might get interested in the Steelers, but if it stays under a touchdown, it's hard to back the Steelers if we're going to give me a third-string quarterback in this ball game.
You talked about how slow the pace is for the Chargers. I love the Steelers' defense. Ant fam liking the under. The under makes so much sense to me. This under sitting at 41.5 or 41. What about the under here in Steelers-Chargers, Donnie?
It makes a lot of sense because let's say Pittsburgh's game plan here going into the weekend. Do you actually think they're going to dial and say, hey, look, this guy's never started before. We're going on the road. Let's throw it all over the place. No way. Lean on that big offensive line, hand the football, protect it. And then when we take a look at the opposite side, I like the Steelers defense. I think they're coming into their own. They got some nice pieces. They're somewhat healthy. And again, Phillip Rivers is going to throw 9-yard routes on 3rd and 10 repeatedly, and they're going to be punting the football, moving it downfield. I like your look on the under here, Jimmy. I do.
I watched this game. My dad is a big Chargers fan, and I've never seen Phillip Rivers look worse than I did against Denver. Did you get a chance to see how bad he looked? Because I was beside myself with how I don't remember him ever looking this bad.
I watched the entire football game and watched it from start to finish, and it's he has great intuition in the pocket, as I like to call it, with an older quarterback, where he can't move around, so he sort of just throws to a spot and hopes the guy is actually going to get there. He doesn't throw a great deep ball anymore. It seems like it's Keenan Allen or nobody, or maybe Austin Eckler is a dump off pass. They're not a big play offense, not at all.
He looked terrible, and he's always blaming somebody. He's always blaming somebody, and I just dislike him very much, and dislike him more each time I watch him. And I've at times been a Chargers fan. At times I've liked their squad, and he was whining after every play, and everybody. Now I saw Melvin Gordon miss some spots, miss some blocks, but still a lot of whining. That's your Sunday nighter, and I put a second asterisk beside the under in Steelers Chargers. Joe Yurkovich says Old Man Rivers, and Fam says the under is one of my top plays for Sunday. Torino says Steelers should trade for Tannehill. Nico says, we have two different looks from Robert Weimer and our guy Nico, but both our guys. Robert Weimer says this is a buy low situation for the Chargers. And Nico says, I don't care who the quarterback is for Pitt. The line is too high. Sell the Chargers. Torma says, I can't believe Steelers are really going to start an undrafted rookie. Good chance they trade for a quarterback. That's the Sunday nighter. That under is very appealing, and I imagine it's going to go down and down and down. All right, now we get to the Monday nighter. Lions, Packers. Man, am I excited for this one. We're starting to see colder weather. 41 Fahrenheit on Monday night. Cloudy, 16 miles per hour wind. Lions are coming off a bye. Can Patricia have them ready? That's a big question, man. Their defense has impressed. We watched them go into Philly and win. Green Bay at home, bad weather. Is that just a simple bet on Green Bay? They've looked good. Their D looks good. Their offense is coming together. This opened at -6. It's now at 4.5. That's a pretty appealing number. This total's at 47, gone down to 46.5. Man, Lions off of a bye at the Packers on Monday night. Donnie, what do you think?
Rested and ready. It's another one of those looks where you have a divisional opponent that's sitting home and waiting while you went on the road and you put a lot into that victory over the Dallas Cowboys. Now you come home, you're smelling yourself a little bit. We're sitting at 4-1. We rectified that loss against the Philadelphia Eagles, and in come the Detroit Lions, who aren't a bad football team, and whether they've won or lost this year, which, what do we got? Just one loss, obviously, against the Kansas City Chiefs. This team's playing good football. They're playing good on defense. But here's the key again, when we take a look at setting shows up on Tuesday into Friday. If we can get, let's just say we get a healthy, Hawkinson in this football game, a healthy Mike Daniels, Darius Slay, Deshaun Ham plays, all hands on deck, I think Detroit's going to give a lot of problems over to the Green Bay Packers, especially if Devontae Adams doesn't play. They matched up really well this week, and Aaron Rodgers was great. Their play calls were great. Dallas Cowboys didn't play well. They took advantage of all those situations. But I think Detroit's going to be rested and ready in this ballgame. I see a close victory, possibly by, obviously, the Green Bay Packers being at home. But I agree with the line drop, Jimmy, early in the week. I do.
So do I. 6 was too much. Detroit has a lot of playmakers on both sides of the ball. Tom Reno says, I'd lean over. Detroit's pass rush isn't consistent, and Rodgers is much better at home. Smith is key for Green Bay, and he's hurt. What do you think of this total, Donnie? Opening at 47, we now see 46.5 on the board.
It still seems like, I know they got into a shootout with Kansas City, and they got 51 in the Philadelphia Eagles game, but they also shown games where 13-10 are out there. To me, it's a division game. I think it plays a little bit to the under. I think maybe they slow it down a little bit on offense from the Detroit side. We'll see if we get some of those playmakers back on defense for the Detroit Lions. But a divisional game, 47, I'm going to lean under in this one.
Yeah, leaning under. Just Jordan says, very appealing number, Jimmy. Jake Bell took it at 6 and again at 4.5.
Oh,
wow. Jake Bell's got some confidence. Usually you get it at 6 and you're like, look where I got it. But he doubles down at 4.5. So Jake Bell obviously thinking that it goes down to 4. And, maybe he's right. Because if you go to the point spreads right now, if you go to that, the -4.5 on Green Bay's plus 101 at Pinnacle. So maybe he's right to do that. Maybe the next thing we see are 4s. What's your expectation of this line move on the Monday Nighter, Donnie? You think we see a 4 or a 5?
To be honest with you, I think what it all shakes out, because I'm going to assume probably Devontae Adams might get some good and hey, he might be able to go. I think this game, Jimmy, is more likely to close above 4 than it is 4 or less in this one. I would probably see it settle in that 4.5, 5-point range, because I think you might get some good information and the betting public will come in, hey, Green Bay's at home and it's cold weather. They're going to play all that moniker. Who are the Detroit Lions? I think it closes higher than actually what it is right now.
Interesting. And Fam saying Lions coming off a bye. Defense should put up a little fights and say are more prepared. Well, let's go over these games once more and look at where the asterisks are. Giants team total under on the Thursday Nighter. I don't know if I could pull the trigger on the Bengals or the under. Those are both question marks now in that spot. Seahawks under and the Seahawks. Let's go back to that again, Donnie, just because I want to get my action locked in. I think that the Seahawks are the play here. Is this the type of situation where Baker Mayfield and the Browns bounce back?
I think there's a good shot at that, because I like football teams that got damaged, because we even saw it with the Cleveland Browns. They put a lot of effort going into that game. I think it's one of those circle the wagons games. Nobody likes us. Nobody thinks we're good. We're at home. Let's show out and play. I'm a big proponent of Seattle. I bet them many times. You're always going to get a great effort out of that football team. I think it's kind of a tough spot. But again, you're saying, hey, Donnie, you preach on rest. This is a team, Seattle, that is more rested than Cleveland, who just played a Monday Night Football game. They're in a bad travel spot themselves for this one.
I'm interested in the Texans and the over in Texans Chiefs. I'm interested in the Saints. The Eagles Vikings over will be a bet that I make. And Jay Peach saying Adams won't be back for at least 3 weeks. And Pink Eye Jean says turf toe, a horrible injury to have. I'm going to take this over in Eagles Vikings. So then we have the possibility of the over. The possibility for the over in Redskins Dolphins. After Donnie broke that down, I think you're right. I think this game might be a little more exciting than we imagine it will be. Niners, Rams. I'm with Ant Fam going against this market move, liking the under, and I'm interested in the Niners. The Falcons will be a play I will make. And I think that's a very interesting note Donnie gave us, that wait to hear about David Johnson. Because if he is out, that total goes down. So keep that note there. Then Cowboys, Jets, I'm off. Titans, Broncos, was moving towards the Titans. I've taken that off. I like the under in Steelers, Chargers. I like that under a lot. And I wonder if the over is going to be a look I make with the Packers. And I like the Lions. Had to repeat all that to make sure I'm ready to go, because I need winners, Donnie, and I need them bad. And I want to show up in this Moon jersey each week, week in, week out. Donnie, just from your early looks, what would you say are the 1 or 2 favorite looks on Tuesday? Have you locked anything in yet?
I haven't locked anything in yet, but I'm telling you, sometimes, hey, look, square plays win. They don't all lose. Otherwise, we would just, fade the public every single time. I really liked the look and loved what I saw out of both teams in Jacksonville and New Orleans. But I like New Orleans a little bit more. And if I'm going to be getting a plus money number, a +1, I'm leaning towards that. The more I think about the Washington-Miami game, the over 41, it just makes sense. Because when we're talking about NFL teams and guys that want to make an impression, Gruden was the offensive coordinator. He got fired. So who's going to step up and say, you know what? Hey, guys, look at me. I'm going to change things around. We're going to be more wide open, because what's going to impress other NFL teams if Washington scores 7 points a week, or say, hey, you know what? They went from scoring 7 to 12 points to 24 to 27 points. That offensive coordinator is pretty good. They're going to open it up in that Washington game. I like that total as well. And then just taking a look a little bit later, a little square with the Atlanta Falcons at this point right now. But I do like the Denver Broncos under 3 points in elevation. Those are the looks I'm looking at early in the week, Jimmy.
I loved hearing that. Thank you for breaking those down. I have added another asterisk to that over in that Redskins-Dolphins game, and it didn't even occur to me really until hearing your breakdown. Very, very exciting. Joe Yurkovich says, just copy off Whale Capper. And
yeah, it's a good way.
I do think that's a good move to make. And you guys should all join us on Friday when we hear his looks. But I'm not. I will be locked in. I'm not going to wait for his tweet. I'm going to lock in this action. I believe in what we are doing here as a team and as a group. Donnie, RightSide, that is our card. That is our Tuesday show. Thank you so much to all these great cappers in the chat, man. We have no show without you guys. Your insights, your humor make it so much fun to roll with you guys. Donnie, RightSide, any last words for these great cappers?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, over 200 people watching here live on a Tuesday, getting you ready for games that aren't going to tee off for another 5 days. It's always a lot of fun to set these up and then tee it off on Friday. And regardless of what anybody's heard out there, I think Sunday is going to be some pretty interesting stuff around here on the channels at sportsbook.com. So look out for some updated information later in the week on those shows. But me and Jimmy and the Whale will be back on Friday nights, kicking it off, stomping it around. We'll see if Whale Capper pulls off a minor miracle money line on somebody getting 8 points out of nowhere that nobody likes. That's always fun to hear about. So it's going down right here, Jimmy, right here on the Audible. We're going to get it done on Friday, man.
We are going to get it done on Friday. I love those Fridays because I get you on Betting with the Bag in the morning, and then we get to do the late show with the Whale as well. So it's a treat to work with you always, Donnie. But it's you guys in the chat, truly you guys. Barry McCockiner, Nick O, Buffo on the beat, Jake Bell, TJ Parks. And can't wait to hear Buffalo on the Beats props. This guy is eating. Clint Richardson, Tomarino Tomor, Jeremy Williams, Gas Station Sushi, Brandon Lugo, Pink Eye Genie, Ziggy Balls, Joe Yurkovich, Robert Weimer, Tomarino Tomor, Dutch Boy Fresh, all you guys, and damn the team. Thank you guys for all of your energy that you put in the show. It means so much to us. It gets us pumped up and excited to be a part of this show. So truly, thank you guys. On behalf of Donnie RightSide, myself, and everybody at SBR, thank you for watching. Let's have a big weekend. Let's get after it. See you guys Friday.